Hi, my name's Amanda. Welcome to this training video brought to you by the IT service. Today we're going to look at working with dates in Microsoft Excel. I've opened a new blank workbook and in A1 I'm going to enter a label, order date. Moving across to B1, I'm going to enter today's date, which is the 17th of the 10th, 2017. To allow us to add, subtract and compare dates, Excel stores dates as serial numbers. The first one began on the 1st of January 1900 and every day since increases by 1. If we go back to the date we've entered in B1 and change the format to a number format, you can see that it's 43,025 days since the 1st of January 1900. Changing back to the short date format, I'm now going to enter a label into A2, delivery date, and in B2 I'm going to enter the 24th of the 10th, 2017. This means that I can work out the number of days that have passed between the two dates. So in B3 I'm going to put equals the date it was delivered minus the date it was ordered, and that will tell me how many days it took for us to go from order date to delivery date. In A3 I'm going to call this process time. As well as subtracting dates, we can also find a date in the future by adding a certain number of days. So let's say that our invoice is a 30-day term, invoice due, and in B4 it's going to be the order date plus 30. That tells me the date by which the invoice should be paid. Excel has a function called today. If I put in here equals today, open and close brackets, it will automatically insert today's date. Another function we can use is equals now. Now returns the date and time. If we have a look at equals now and change it to a number, we can see that the day is still represented as a whole number and the time is represented as a decimal fraction. We can combine the two to give us a date and time. To recap so far, dates are stored as serial numbers. The first serial number is the 1st of January 1900. Dates can be added, subtracted and compared. Dates without a decimal are assumed to be midnight. Equals today will automatically enter the current date, and equals now will automatically insert an updatable date and time. In Excel, it can be useful to find the last day of the month, and we can do that by using the function EOMonth. EOMonth requires two pieces of information. The first is the start date, and I'm going to use the start date in B2. And the second is how many months in the future or past would you like to find the end of. So in this case I'm going to say I want 0 months, the end of the current month in B2. If I change the start date, so let's use the 1st of February 2020, the end of the month will be the 29th of February because that year is a leap year. Going back to the example of the 1st of November, the end of the month will be the 30th of November, and down here in D5 I want to know how many working days there are in that month. To do that I'm going to use a function called net work days equals net work days. The first argument is the start date, so I'm going to use B2 again, comma to move on to the end date, and I'm going to use the last day of the month, which is in C2, and then there's an optional argument for excluding holiday dates. So I've got here a list of the UK holiday dates, and I'm going to select that range to exclude any bank holidays. Closing the brackets, there are 22 working days in the month of November. Network days includes only Monday to Friday. I'm going to do the same thing now, but this time for the US. So I have my start date and my end date, and this time I'm going to exclude the US holiday dates listed in column J. In the US, there would be 20 working days in the month of November because there are excluded holiday dates in that list. There are no holiday dates in the UK, and yet, despite there being 3 days listed as holidays in the US, I'm still doing 20 working days and not 19. The reason for that is that one of these days is clearly a Saturday or Sunday. So how can we see which day of the week it is? I can use a custom number format. As you can see, the current format is dd/mm/YYYY, which produces the standard short date format. By taking out the current format and entering 4 Ds, I can see the full name of the day of the week instead, and we can see there that this date, the 11th of November, falls on a Saturday in 2017. During a recent training course, I was asked about part-time workers and how to exclude the days of the week that they don't work. In order to do this, we would have to add to the exclusions list. So I could create a list of, say, Fridays throughout the year where the part-time worker wouldn't work and should therefore be excluded. The quickest way to create such a list would be to put in the first Friday of the year, which would be the 6th of January 2017, and the following Friday is the 13th of January 2017, and then selecting both together, I can continue the weekly list until I get to the end of the year, which would be the 29th of December 2017. I would then write the formula equals net work days. Start date would still be the 1st of the month. End date would be the 30th of the month, and this time I would exclude the full list from the bank holidays all the way down to the end of the exclusion of Fridays, closing the brackets, and I can then see that a part-time worker would do 18 days, Monday to Thursday, in the month of November. Sometimes in Excel we might want to extract part of the date. In B1 I've got the 17th of the 10th 2017. The first thing I'm going to extract in B2 is the day part of that. So using the function equals day, all Excel requires is the serial number, which is our date, and it will extract the day part of that date. Underneath I'm going to extract the month, equals month, and again just the serial number, and then finally the year, equals year, enter the date cell and close the brackets. So now I've split the date into the day, the month and the year. I might want to find the day of the week. The function we need is called weekday. It requires the serial number, which is the date, and then it has a return type. This allows me to start the numbering on a different day of the week. And if you have a look at return type 2, that starts on a number 1 for Monday through to 7 for Sunday, whereas return type 3 starts at a 0 on Monday through to a 6 for Sunday. I'm going to use return type 2, which starts as number 1 on Monday through to number 7 on Sunday. Closing the brackets, we can see that it tells me that the 17th of October is weekday number 2. So this isn't very useful because, as we saw before, you could have any day of the week represented by the number 2 depending on which return type you'd selected. So what we'd probably want to do is, around the weekday, we'd want to put in a VLOOKUP to take the result of the weekday function and find it in our list of numbers and bring back the weekday name using an exact match. That would then tell us the day of the week. Having extracted the day, month and year from our original date, I can now join them back together using the concatenate function. And instead of using the day, I can set them all to be the first of the month by putting together the first with a / and then joining that to the month and another / and finally the year. As you can see, that left aligns the string of text that I've created because it's not classed as a serial number for a date. To do that, I would need to use the date value function around the string of text I've created, and that would give me the serial number, which I could then format as a short date. The alternative to using that formula would be to use the EO month with the start date minus 1 month, which would find me the last day of the previous month, and then add 1 to it, which also gives me the same result. To summarise, we can extract part of the date using the day, the month and the year functions. We can find the day of the week using weekday function, which returns the index number of the days of the week depending on the return type we've chosen. And we can concatenate date parts into a string which represents the date and use the date value function to turn the string back into a date serial number. I hope you've enjoyed this video. For more information or to book your own bespoke training course, please contact the IT service.